Hello and welcome to the Gray Area, where I give interviews with developers, talk about gaming news and reviews, and focus on the interrelationship between gamers. My name is Genesee Gray, and this is the 81st episode in a weekly series called Sarah Angel. Here with me is Seraphina Brennan, community specialist from Turbine. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Genesee.
Welcome.
Very excited.
Last week's episode was a discussion with Krista Hauser from Fifth Column Games and Jessica Johnson from Girl Trouble Time. Please visit www.genesee.com to add to the forum discussion on that topic and to tell me your story. Today is Thursday, September 13th, and we're going to meet Sarah, talk about the Avarice RPG, gaming massively, and transgenderedness, which is not really a word, I just made it up.
I think I've used it before, actually.
Okay.
Like, transgenderedness is like a whole, it's its own thing. It's a whole giant plethora, I guess.
Good, see? I've been sanctioned. Now, one of the most interesting stories that I heard this week, I would like to share with you and then see what you think.
All right.
Czech developer Bohemia Interactive has confirmed reports two of its employees were working on the game Arma 3, and they went to Greece to film some interesting footage to use to build one of the military bases in that game. And unfortunately, they chose a real base and were caught photographing and filming on the military base on the Greek island of Lemnos for the tactical military simulator. And the military Greek police were not very happy about that. So they're currently holding them right now, and there's a lot of chatter about it. The official stance is, quote, "Since its establishment in 1999, Bohemia Interactive has created games based only upon publicly available information. We always respect the law, and we've never instructed anybody to violate the laws of any country." And they said that they're hoping for the families in a difficult situation, and this is an unfortunate misunderstanding of the passion as artists and creators of virtual worlds. So the comments kind of run from people saying, well, their intentions are good. They, didn't mean to violate national security. But also, it wouldn't be a good idea to play a military simulator of an accurate base where you storm the base, probably. So what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are, first of all, this was a really sad story. I was reading about this yesterday, and I felt absolutely terrible to actually read, some of our other developer friends have been arrested and charged with espionage, of all things.
Right.
That is a very serious charge, and, we always strive for realism in games, but at the same time, I read Bohemia Interactive statement, and I also read a couple other things about what they do. I haven't played Arma. I have it installed, and I should play it. But from what I've heard, that they just take the information and they usually use it to base their fantasy environments on. So even though they look at real-world places and they base their game in fantasy worlds, but they pull all their information from the real world. That is so they don't set out from what I know, from what I've heard. They don't set out to create picture-perfect recreations. But with that said, I just really feel really bad for them. I understand getting research, but I guess they got a little too close, and perhaps they should have asked. It just hurts. It just really hurts, to hear about this.
It's a tragic mistake. Definitely. You can see it happening to anyone. I'm sure it was beautiful there, and they probably thought, oh, I'll just take these beautiful outside shots, and they weren't thinking of the military implications. Oh,
probably not. And getting a camera anywhere close to a military base is never a good idea these days.
No. Yeah. Okay, well, that's kind of sad. And there's been a little bit of sad news lately with the, Sean Smith from EVE Online.
EVE Online, Vile Rat. Yeah,
right.
That was extremely, extremely heartbreaking to hear.
So we will turn to more happy news, hopefully, and ask you, what is your news of the week? What are you up to?
News of the week, geez. I just moved, unfortunately. I'm in a brand new room, which is great,
really?
But everything's, yes. I have track lighting. Like, this is all brand new to me.
Well, that's good.
So,
that's good news.
Look around trying to figure things out still. It's a little messy, but hopefully it looks nice for everyone out there in internet land. As I look over this way, because the chat's over here on this side of the screen. But otherwise, I've been really busy with work and everything, and preparing Avarice. Last week, we basically sent out all of our stuff all of our backer promises, except for one thing for the ultra high level backers. They actually get a customized note from one of the in-game characters, which I still have to make.
Oh my!
So,
How many of those do you have to do?
Only 5. You know, there was a very few number. It was the limited high-end run, basically.
Okay.
But they're like my lifetimers. You know, they purchased the game, and now they get all future expansions for free. Basically, they paid a one-time fee.
Okay.
So
that's good. That's a good show of faith.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. You know, I really like people who really helped me out with this and got it off the ground. But the Avarice Industries RPG is going quite well, and hopefully this week I get to actually launch the plan for the game. Currently, as backers know, we're in a state right now where we're trying to get the rest of the book done. We got all of our stuff out, and now it's finishing the book and finishing the art. So we're going to release a timeline for that, and then hopefully publish the book online finally, and let people play. Well, the people can play right now. The backers actually have the rules, but then it will be for sale for everyone else.
Oh, so exciting. Well, I want to talk about Avarice a little more, but first I want to jump to one of my points that I have to ask everyone who comes on, because I get jealous. Dragon Con! How was Dragon Con?
It was great. I am a 5-year veteran. 5 years now I've been going to Dragon Con. I realized it this year, and it blew my mind completely. It doesn't seem like it, especially because like when I first went, I was still in college, and I was driving down 12 hours from Pittsburgh with all my friends in a giant van, you know.
Dedication.
And now these years, I can just get on a plane and just fly down in 2 hours, and it's much simpler now.
No doubt.
It's like I can afford things now all of a sudden. Oh my gosh, you know.
Do not go into the dice room.
No. But oh, the dice room, Chessex. Well, Chessex made all the Avarice Industries dice, but I walked over there, of course. When I look at their dice, I immediately spend like $40 in a blink of an eye. I don't even move. I'm standing still, and all of a sudden I'm holding a bag of dice, and I'm out $40.
It happens like that.
Oh, it does. But Dragon Con is always amazing. Like if there's one convention I can look forward to every year, it's always Dragon Con.
Did you see any good speakers?
I saw a lot of good speakers, as a matter of fact. I went to a panel from Stephen Reed, the ex-community manager for BioWare, now the director of community for Gazillion Entertainment. And, oh my god, was it Tony? No. I feel terrible now. It was one of the members from SOE. I feel terrible. I forgot his name. I'll think about it now. I'll remember it. Yeah, I'll remember it later. I'll be like, oh, dang, you know. But it was a community management panel, which was really interesting to listen to. Alice Cooper was there this year, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yes, he showed up. He talked about his One Rock tour, $1 Billion Babies, and some of the special effects behind it, which was really interesting. Kind of like back behind the scenes, you know, what was going on with the tour. Super, super cool speaker. I mean, it's Alice Cooper. He's a great speaker in general. But
he's used to large audiences.
Yeah, he's used to giant audiences and doing crazy things like killing himself on stage multiple times.
He's the only person that could do that multiple times.
No, yeah, he's very amazing.
I saw that Felicia Day was filming the vlog there. Do you watch the vlog at all? It's one of my favorite little web series.
It's on Geek and Sundry, isn't it?
Yeah,
or is it on something else?
Geek
and Sundry. Her big push. No, I didn't see. In fact, I didn't really run into Felicia Day or the Guild this year. Usually every year I end up running into them by accident.
Oh.
At a party or something like that. I always say, hey. But this year I didn't see them. We must have just missed each other.
Usually it's in some obscure building, like quite a walk from the hotels, and you know the only time you'd ever encounter is if you're doing the zombie parade. That's kind of what I recall of where they always meet.
Yes, I mean, never know. They're all over the place. They're super secret ninjas.
Right. They're probably secret guards that take them underground to get places.
Yes, absolutely. Although it didn't always used to be like that. I actually interviewed them. Back when I was with Massively, I interviewed them when they came to Philadelphia's GameX, the one-year game convention. That's all that happened. It happened for 1 year, and it was a neat convention. It was pretty cool, but it was very small. It didn't do what it wanted to do. But Jeff, Sandeep, and Robin actually came, and they were manning the guild table by themselves. Like, it was sad. I walked over and nobody was talking to them. It was season 1, you know. I was like, oh my god, guys, I love your show. I'm so into MMOs, and can I interview you guys? And like, yeah, sure, you know, no problem. And I saw Jeff a year later at Dragon Con. I said, hey, Jeff, we met at GameX. And all he looked at me, he just went deadpan, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Well,
It's
you have
very
a mutual
interesting.
memory, which is the only thing now it exists.
Hmm.
So let's go to some past history. The the childhood gaming question. So when did you become interested in games, and what was your inspiration for that?
5. I was interested in games at the age of 5 because my parents bought me. I really wanted a Nintendo because I was right at the age where Nintendo was the big thing. Everyone wanted Super Mario Brothers. Everyone wanted Legend of Zelda and stuff like that.
Okay.
And instead of getting that, I got the Interactive Vision. It
Oh,
was a yes. Have you ever heard of it?
yeah, yeah,
Really? Oh,
yeah.
you're like one of the
I went
few
to the Art of
people who's
Video
actually.
Games. It was like there on the wall with all the old stuff.
Oh, I'm certain it was. I'm certain it was. It was actually, for what it was a very advanced system because it actually used the VCR and it would play a tape. And it was like watching an episode of a cartoon or something like that. And you
Hmm.
could control the action. And as you won or lost games, it changed the direction of the tape. So you could actually get different episodes or parts of it to play.
Oh, could you wear it
It's
out
actually
then
very
over
cool.
time?
Yeah, because I think I did. Because it was basically switching the head on the VCR to run on a certain like frequency, so it would only show part of the screen and not the lower half, the other sound and the other half of the
Oh,
episode. So I'm certain you could. It would kill your VCR more than it would kill your interactive vision, I think.
I would think so.
Yeah, but for what it was very cool. Got to play with Mickey and Sesame Street and all that. But eventually, I got the Nintendo, uh, and I wasn't the only one in the house addicted to games, as a matter of fact. I would go to bed, and I would wake up at night, and I would hear ba-ding, ba-ding, ba-ding from downstairs, and I hear my mom going, "Honey, jump over the rocks, jump over the turtle, jump over the turtle, faster, honey, faster!" Oh, you ran out of time. And of course, I would yell
Oh,
down, "Are you playing my Nintendo?" And I would hear this, "Go to bed, sweetie, we're just watching television."
did they play the more advanced stuff? Did they keep gaming after you caught them?
No, no, they really didn't.
Just like the simple
They
ones.
they're very they're very particular about their gaming.
Okay.
They like Mario. They love Tetris. They love Tetris. Uh, they really got into Bejeweled recently
Hmm.
and Draw Something and stuff like that. They're really big Facebook gamers now. But before, I think the weirdest thing they actually got really into was Blastress for the Super Nintendo.
I don't
It
know
was
that.
tech. Oh, it came on the Super Scope, as a matter of fact. When you bought your Super Scope, you had a cart of 6 games. And two of them were two games called Blastress. One was you had to shoot like these stained glass windows to play Tetris, basically, and the other one was falling squares, and you would hit them, and they would rotate to different colors. And my parents loved it. I would always like walk up and see them holding the Super Scope, shooting it at the screen, compulsively. Uh, so
That's
they
cool. So you felt supported as you grew as a gamer. Would they buy you different systems and different games without too much complaint?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the biggest complaint was the money. They were very
We
expensive
all complain
systems.
about that.
Oh yeah, and of course I asked for every system available. I even asked for the Jaguar. I asked for the 3DO. Like my parents were like, those are too expensive, honey. No, you're not getting those. You get the Genesis. 5 years after the Genesis was big, you get the Super. Actually, I got the Super
Aw.
Nintendo. But the big thing was Nintendo 64. I think that was the one I got the year it came out, the Christmas it came out. They found one. They stood in line apparently for it. They really, really tried. And much like the kid who got the Nintendo 64 and screamed, the Nintendo
Mm-hmm.
64, I was the opposite of that. I looked at it, I looked up, I looked back down, and I just started crying because it was just
Oh.
so glorious.
Best
It was
Christmas ever.
so, it was the best Christmas ever, and they were like, they were trying to figure out if I wanted it or didn't want it, and my parents were like, are you
Oh,
okay?
I
Is this
see.
the right thing? And they were really worried. I was like, no, it's so beautiful.
Cool. So how
Yeah,
does the writing come in from the gaming, kind of taking it to the written word?
I don't know. I've always been a writer. Um, when I was young, I used to do diaries. I started off with that and journals. Then I moved into like Power Rangers fan fiction. Like basically, it was basically Power Rangers fan fiction, and that slowly evolved into one of my worlds that I actually still write in to this day. Although it's become much more adult, of course. Even Avarice Industries, for as adult as it is, and and the issues it tackles now. It wasn't always like that. When I was 10, I started writing Avarice and some of the characters that appear there. And it was just something I always wanted to do. It was something I really felt very passionate about. And it didn't feel like a hobby. It never felt like work. Writing was never work for me. It was just something I did, and something that was fun. Like gaming. Gaming was fun. That's why I did gaming, I think.
Okay.
And I grew out of that. You know, like, why not do what you love?
So is that what you said when people would say, what do you want to do when you grow up? Would you say I want to be a gaming writer?
I said both things. I actually said I wanted to be a game writer for a while, and they were like, those don't exist. And I was like, oh, I want to work in video games. You're never going to work in video games, honey. Like, shoot low. You know,
every parent does that.
Don't try it, you know, like, and push it. And I want to be a writer. Oh, writers make no money. But I really want to be a writer. But you don't want to be a writer. You don't want to be a starving artist, you know, barely making ends meet. Go to college, get a sustainable degree, which was good advice. You know, it was good advice, and then work from there. If you want to be a writer after that, then go for it. You know, they were never downers about it. They just always wanted me to be reasonable.
Fallbacks. Okay.
Yeah, fallbacks. Yeah, I ended up going to college, and I ended up going for a reasonable degree, and that was in pharmacy of all things. I was actually accepted to the University of Pittsburgh as a conditional pharmacy student. And they only hand that out to 50 freshmen. Which basically says, as long as I keep my grades up and as long as I keep with the program, I automatically get accepted to the School of Pharmacy in my second year. Which was a great deal. That was really awesome.
Okay.
And then I found out I really didn't like pharmacy.
Oh.
That was not the thing for me. You know, my grades suffered, everything suffered. It wasn't what I wanted to do, as much as I thought it was what I wanted to do. So I ended up reevaluating everything, going for psychology, and working specifically with virtual worlds. Because that's, again, do something that you love. I picked studying virtual worlds and studying social psychology and large group psychology. And I wanted to get into research, and by accident, I ended up getting a side job at Massively to make ends meet. And from there, well, I ended up falling into game writing.
Yeah. Well, was game design your first writing job for game design? Because I saw something on your LinkedIn saying you had writings for game design.
I did write for game design specifically. I did actually write for CCP for a little bit as a freelance writer.
Really?
On EVE Online specifically. Yes. Yeah, I was a writer on EVE Online for a little bit. Can't talk about what I wrote, but I can say that I actually did work for them briefly.
Okay.
It was a really good experience. Taught me a lot about freelance writing. I wrote some freelance missions for role-playing games, pen and paper role-playing games. Uh-oh. You there?
Yeah, I see you.
I see you. I'm losing the internet.
Here, let me turn my camera off for a second so you can... Does that help your bandwidth? Did it help?
It does, actually.
Okay, you keep yours on, I'll turn mine off.
Yep, it did. Okay, cool.
Okay. Well,
so, yeah.
It looks like in your LinkedIn that you worked at game design, they're saying, for 9 months doing like freelance, and then suddenly you're in Massively, which is, it's kind of like coming out of high school and being hired at Valve. You know, that's
really? You say
amazing,
that?
yeah.
Massively?
Yeah, well, somebody
Massively didn't always start off to what it was, you know?
Okay. Well, see, I only know Massively of now. I don't know the beginning.
What was that?
I only know the Massively of present day. I don't know the pre-beginning building Massively. So tell me what that was like.
It was actually super interesting. Because I came on, I didn't know what joystick was when I came in. I only knew Massively because I read all the blogs and everything. I thought Massively sounded like a really cool place, and I was a big fan. So I really wanted to work there. So I applied and didn't hear back for like 6-7 months, and I thought nothing came of it. And then one day I saw that they wanted to hire new writers, so I applied again, and I got an email back about a week later, and they had said, "Oh, we really want to hire you." I'm like, "Oh man, I can't, for news design, for news writing," and they went, "No, you applied like 7 months ago, and we're going to hire you now."
Wow, that's a long wait.
Yeah, well, they weren't hiring at the time. So until they were hiring, they didn't look at the apps. And then finally, boom, there are the applications. And, oh, look, there's this person who really wants to work here. Why not? So starting out, we were a much larger staff. As a matter of fact, we started off with what I think 20 people writing news, maybe 15. But then there was the giant AOL instability moment where we were all told to stop posting across every blog, including like Engadget and Joystick, had to stop posting one day. Um, didn't know why. We were all really scared. We were just told from above to stop posting. So we did, and then we were assured that there would be no cuts. Well, there were cuts. And our staff of 15 went down to a staff of 7. In fact, I was doing news and columns at the time, and they just asked me, hey, look, could you scale it back a little bit to just columns? I thought they were going to be firing me. They're like, we have bad news for you. I'm like, well, thank you for the opportunity. And they were, no, 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 no. Your column's one of the most read on the site. We can't get rid of you. It's just your news. You need to cut back on the news. I was like, okay, sure.
Wow, that's scary.
It was very scary. It happened a couple times, but everything seems much better now. Everything seems much more proficient and higher level now. That there's a working comment system from what I hear on massively.com now, which for years I was working with that comment system. I was always like, the comment system breaks all the time and it's terrible, and that was one of my largest complaints. And and our commenters kept saying it, and the management just kept telling us, oh yeah, we'll get to it eventually. We'll get to it eventually. But I think the merger with Joystick really helped out. That was just as I was leaving. We were merging with Joystick.
Okay.
And after that, we got Joysticks. I see most of Joystick's things are now on Massively. And it seems like it's been much better than it Massively being a separate site.
Well, Anti-Alias seemed like it did very well. I mean, anytime you really look up Massively, Anti-Alias comes up. How was that received? Did you have a lot of love for that column, or were people harsh as well?
Both. I think people got really engaged with Anti-Alias because Anti-Alias was weird. It started off as me talking about games from a psychological point of view, because that was what they wanted me to do. And then it ended up just evolving into, let Sarah just talk for a while, because people find it interesting. And people just loved listening and commenting. I think that was the best part. It started discussions. It started a good back and forth between me and me and our readers. Mm-hmm. And I always engaged with that. It wasn't just a column; it was a debate, and that was the best part. That was always the best part. So sure, some people got really vocal and very angry about it, but other people understood that I was engaging with them and talking and going back and forth in this good discussion.
It also takes the curtain down a little bit. I mean, most people that write columns or blogs, they have that one step back where it's about the information that they're sharing and they're giving an opinion. But when you start to just talk about your own thoughts, or just kind of, as you said, let Sarah talk, you have no curtain, and I would think that would be difficult not to take very much to heart.
No, I mean, at first you do. When you're new to it and you're reading the comments of the unfiltered internet, it's really harsh. You have to. You get. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I remember going home some nights and being like, oh my god, these comments are just so terrible. I can't believe they disagree with me so much. I can't believe I wrote something like this, and you do take it to heart. But after a while, you realize, you understand that you have your opinions and they have theirs, and neither's wrong. I think that's what I learned from it, is everyone can have their opinions and share in them and grow as a group. Yeah, I can learn from you and you can learn from me.
How do they give these comments when they have no comment system?
Oh, well, we had a comment system. It just, like I said, it was just a roulette system. It was like, sometimes your comments worked, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they posted in the order they should, sometimes they didn't. It was a hit or miss comment system. But they tried as they might. They totally gave as many comments as they could. And some of my articles got huge amounts of comments. I remember reading one that was like 200 comments. I just couldn't read them all. I tried to read them all. I just couldn't,
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like you were at Massively for a couple years, and you made senior editor really quickly. What's the environment like when you're with a group of people that are all writing about games, and it's a full-time job? Was that your first full-time writing job specifically?
It became my first time writing job. I mean, it started off as a part-time job, but it became my full-time writing job. And it's as insane as you think it is. We are all just gamers. We're all fun people. Uh, and that's what
Deadlines.
made there were deadlines, and there are not only are they deadlines, but there's shocking, surprising news that just comes out at the weirdest of times that you have to like randomly call people and scream like, I need someone, I need a writer in here to write this, please, please, come on, we'll give you money.
Ah.
And for example, if you want one of the really crazy times, when Band of Brothers broke up in Eve, and that happened at like 10 p.m. at night, um, all of a sudden one of our writers, who didn't know really a lot about Eve, logs onto Eve and went, the map looks funny. And we're like, map looks funny how? And she's like, there, everything's lit up for all the corporations that own space, but there's this really giant hole in space that's not lit. Like something was there, but it wasn't. And we're like, what do you mean? Like, that sounds silly. And she's like, just log in and look. So I log in and I look at the space, and there it is. It's this giant freaking hole. And I'm like, what was there before? Like, so I call
Alderaan
Eve up.
exploded.
Yeah, yeah. So I called Eve, or online guy, Brendan, and like, Brendan, what was there? And he's like, Band of Brothers was there. That was like huge. Like, Band of Brothers is amazing. And I had heard of Band of Brothers, and I wasn't a big Eve player. And I was like, oh my god. Like, he's like, we need a story on this. We need to contact people. So we did. It was like being in a real newsroom at that point. He was running around in space trying to find members of Band of Brothers to talk to get the story of what happened. That was interesting for us. It wasn't just there was a hole in space. Oh, who cares? It was what happened to Band of Brothers. Um, how did all this go down? What was their opinion on the whole thing? We were just talking to basically everyone we could and running all the information down as fast as possible. And we had a story out at 11 p.m. at night. We were one of the first ones to break it. And after that, it just swept the gaming media, like, all over. Like, because this was big news. No one had taken down a corporation that large in EVE Online before. And it was all done with espionage from Goonswarm. That's how the Mittani got to be the Mittani.
That would be such an interesting information gathering moment where you're flying around in this game and you're like XG51 and you're talking to other characters and going, no, I work at Massively and I'm trying to interview you virtually in this game. You would think people would look at that oddly.
Right, and people are going, really? Are you really that person? Luckily, Brendan was really well known. He could point to his EVE Online columns because he signed them with his character name
Oh,
and
that was
say,
smart.
this is me over here, a knifer. And, a knifer right here. And they're like, oh my god, And it was really amusing when we actually got people to, talk to us, and they would give us these usual, they would give us the usual,
Ooh, I lost her. Hang on 1 second. I'll get her back. Oh, there you are. I lost you for a second.
okay, I'm back. I love my internet. Poor internet.
It's okay. Let it catch up.
Yeah, let me try disconnecting, Quack.
Okay, sure.
I'll be right back in.
Well, dead air. Isn't this fun? Hello, chat room. Let's see what you're all talking about. Tuberculosis? Really? Okay then.
All right.
Hello. Hopefully that's
Okay,
better.
that should reset everything. So we were at Goons One. Um, so yeah, we actually had we had Banner Brothers talking to us, and they kept telling us, well, we're not talking right now. We're not releasing a public statement. And we started getting like real company lines back, like, we'll talk about this in a minute. We're all, we're having a board of directors meeting. Uh, it was really interesting trying to crack that and trying to figure out what was going on. So it was a very interesting experience overall that really shocked and alerted me to how amazing online worlds can be when you let players really make decisions.
Hmm. I like
So,
that. Give me one moment. I'm messing with
Yes.
volume here.
Apparently I'm too low. So it says
Yes.
the chat room.
Yes. Turn yourself up. They would like you to turn yourself up.
Oh, can't do that with my microphone, unfortunately. Let's see if
Okay. I'm messing
yeah.
with you.
Oh, you're messing with me.
No,
That
not like
doesn't
that.
sound good.
No, it doesn't. Sorry. Okay. Is that better, chat room?
Chat room, can you hear me?
Yes, they said better.
Oh, good. Good.
Okay. Sorry.
It's
Let's
fine.
see. Where are we going? Oh, games that you're playing now. Other than They Bleed Pixels and Saints Row 3, which I don't even know what They Bleed Pixels is.
How do you not know what They Bleed Pixels is? It's
I've
a
never heard
great
of
game.
this.
It's super hard too. It's a Cthulhu. It is brand new. It's an indie game. It's actually from the Toronto IDGA, um, which my one friend from Turbine was telling me all about, because he's actually from Toronto. But it's a H.P. Lovecraft-inspired platformer, much like Super Meat Boy, only about a young girl who goes to this academy for troubled girls, like La Focado Academy for Troubled Young Girls,
Okay.
and she touches a book that's covered in blood, and
And
she
why?
opens it and reads it, and she turns into a demon, and she begins to dream she's a demon, and she's killing all these other demons. But when she wakes up, she realizes that part of her is actually turning into the demon girl she dreams about. And every night as she dreams, she turns more and more into a demon during the day. So, but it's a
This.
really notoriously hard platformer. It's like Super Meat Boy. It's
Yes.
the chat room asked what was
Frustrating.
the game name. It's called They Bleed Pixels. It's very cool.
It sounds like that movie that's coming out about the little girl that buys that really old trinket at a fair and she gets possessed. See, I can't even play that or watch that stuff. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's too scary.
Oh, this is funny though. This is really cute. This is cute, scary.
It's a
Like,
cute demon child.
it's extremely cute.
Really?
It's adorable. They bleed pixels. They literally bleed pixels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Like
I'll look.
Saints Row 3, we all know how awesome Saints Row 3 is.
Yeah, well, that's true. Mostly for the weapons.
Oh yeah, weapons are amazing. But the one-liners too, really good one-liners. In fact, um, this is an adult show, right? I can say
Yeah,
curse
you
words.
can.
Yes, my background right now is actually my character on the helicopter looking out at the penthouse and just saying, "Some asshole is in my pool." That's just my background.
Nice.
So all props to Volition for that. Soon will be Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 will take up all my time, and I cannot wait for all that. But currently I'm playing uh, Guild Wars 2, of course, because my coworker Ruby is over at ArenaNet, and she guilted me into playing Guild Wars 2.
How are you
And
finding that?
I love it. It's a great game. It's a really good, solid MMO experience that is genuinely different. Um, I have nothing but admiration for ArenaNet for doing what they're doing and all the strain their servers are probably going through right now, but just for how
Yes.
solid and balanced the game is. It's a fun game. And
Fun.
past that, if I'm not playing Guild Wars, I'm playing Lord of the Rings, of course. I was playing Lord of the Rings online and trying to get my different alts up to level because I have an alt of most classes except for Minstrel because I really don't like healing.
Okay.
But
In Guild Wars 2, I understand that resources are specific to your character. So if you're, let's say, a miner or something, you run after someone who's already mining a resource, you will not be disturbing them and you can mine the whole thing yourself as well, which I thought
right.
was really clever because one of the most annoying things in World of Warcraft is playing resource grabbing and, ooh,
Oh no,
herbs.
I've done that too. I mean, on Lord of the Rings, I've done the same thing. Like, I'm looking out, and I'm like, oh, look, there's a mining node. And I gallop over on my horse, go to get off, and someone snipes it. The minute I'm going to go get it. In Guild Wars, I don't have to worry. In fact, I even get that twitch reaction when I'm running towards a resource node and I see someone going for it. I even have that tension, like the
I kill you!
no! And then all of a sudden they fight it, I'm like, and it doesn't go away. And I go, oh yeah, it's instance now. So
Hey,
I just
now we
run
can
up
help
behind.
each other.
Yeah, now we can help each other and not have to yell at each other and yell, mine stealer, mine stealer. Start waving the finger.
Right? Nice. Well, see, I'm not the
And
only one that's irritated by that.
no, no, this is a big thing. That's a big thing in MMOs when people steal your stuff, because you're running over to it. You're obviously the one running towards it. That's what you want. That's what you're making it clear to everyone else. That's what they want. and
I find the
then someone else comes in and
worst.
just ruins your day.
They do. I find the worst is if I'm standing there and there's mobs around the resource that I want and I'm fighting the mobs and then someone comes right behind me now that I've distracted all the mobs and takes it. That's the one that
Yeah,
really I will start screaming in like trade chat about that.
yeah.
That's the only one where you'll see me really like lose my mind. Ninja.
You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that in anything. So
Nice.
just
Okay.
past that, if I'm not playing Guild Wars and playing Second Life, I think some of the people in the chat room right now are actually from Second Life.
Ah. I
So I'm yes.
I read your article about the voice chat feature, or I read some articles about voice chat feature in Second Life and how that is sort of a mixed reaction from people. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on that. And we'll kind of move to the transgendered bit here too, because people were saying if you have let's say you have a different name than the name you use normally. People have issues with Real ID in the same way that people have issues with voice chat in Secret World. If you're playing, I forget how they call that, gender flipping, where you change your character. And there's a word for that, but I don't remember. What is your opinion about the voice chat feature? And you think,
I think voice chat, it depends on what you're using it for. For
okay,
voice chat for raids, I'm an old raid leader. I really love voice chat for raids, even if my character is female. It doesn't matter at that point. I need to get information to you. I need to do it fast. I need to be able to react tactically to very quick and changing situations. I love voice chat for that. Um, However, I should adjust my microphone here. However, if it's something like roleplay, which I do a lot of in Second Life, over at Kaidare Braden, I play a female. I play a female vampire, and I don't think I want to sit there and make my character's voice constantly for hours at a time when I'm role playing. I don't want to sit there and talk, "Hello, darling. How are you today?"
right,
In this large, grandiose voice, which I know she has, and that's how I describe it. But I don't want to sit there and keep doing it for a while. It's especially difficult when you are, transgender, and you're playing a character of your gender. People expect you to be of your gender. You turn on voice chat and you go, "Hey, how you doing?" Like it's a complete, it's a complete flip. Even in World of Warcraft, when I was playing a female paladin and I was raid leading and we had pickup groups, people be like, "Well, listen to Sephi. Listen to Sephi." And I'm Sephi, obviously, and people are like, "Okay," and they're waiting for a female voice, and then they hear me on the other end, and they go, "You're a guy?" Like there's that dot dot dot,
right.
like wait, all confused, where they're entirely confused. Uh,
Does that
but
get really old?
It does. You get used to it. I obviously get used to it, but it does get old after a while. Where sometimes I'll just be like, yes, I'm Sephi. Yes, I'm a guy. Let's continue onwards.
Right, because you probably have to explain that every day, multiple times.
Yeah.
I would think. Okay, chat room. Let's go back and
Oh,
define
oh,
transgendered.
okay.
Can we do that?
We can do that. So transgendered individuals are people who are of one. This is very specific. Who are of one sex, who wish to designate themselves or believe themselves to feel more comfortable as the opposite gender. Gender and sex are different. I think a lot of people miss that. Sex is a biologically set thing. I am a male sexually. Those are my sexual organs. But gender-wise, I prefer to be female. Relate more to that. I feel more as a female and act more as a female than I do as a male, gender-wise, which is more of a social role or a social connotation.
Okay.
So that's what transgender is. It's you are of one sex, but you are acting as another gender, which could be, and people don't understand, it doesn't have to be male or female gender. You can be genderless, as a matter of fact. Or then there's sliders. There could be. That's why we have tomboys. Tomboys are, women who are a bit more masculine, but yet fully aren't male. They don't want to be males. They like being females, but they're a bit more masculine. Versus, men who are a bit more feminine. It happens. Metrosexuals, I guess that would fall under.
I see.
I, I
So it doesn't
guess.
necessarily mean you want to change your actual sex to the one that you identify to most. It just means that you feel you have attributes that make you feel more like something that you physically are not.
Yes, and you wish to be preferred. You prefer to be called that. public. I prefer to be called she. I prefer to be referred to as a woman. And um, I think that's the big thing. It's not just that you believe it; it's just that you would like to take on that role in society. You
Okay.
feel more comfortable in that role.
Do most transgendered people go to the point where they actually become the gender that they feel that they relate to, like
Yeah,
physically, and
obviously,
do that? You go the whole way. Okay.
obviously, I can't guess. For everyone's different. It's a unique challenge for everyone who does it. For me, there are aspects of the surgery that I will do, and there are aspects that I will not do. Um, some people will do more than others, but there are some people, we used to call them transsexuals
Mm-hmm.
back in the day, who go all the way. They will take all of the sexual reassignment surgeries and reassign themselves sexually as a female or a male.
It's so interesting because it's almost like you then have to define what a woman is without looking at her outside. And I think most people fall on a spectrum where, if you're not looking at them physically, most people kind of range the whole spectrum, whether they are sexually male or female, on how you might define them, like if they were just entity.
Yeah,
How do you choose and say I am a woman or I am a man based on pure entity?
you don't choose. I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people maybe don't understand is that you're not choosing who you are. You're already that person.
Right.
It's just you're attempting to assign a term. You're attempting to fall into some sort of definition, which I think is dangerous. Um, it's not about who you. It's, it's so difficult to actually like be able to go through this and say these things because they're so ill-defined and they're so amorphous.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're you, and there's no choice. There's no thinking or thought attached to it. It's just you act the way you wish to act. For me, it was you come to a realization though that you as that voice, you come to a realization or you realize to do this, um, and that this is who you are. And I think that is more a choice. It's not whether you are it or not. You always are. It's just that whether you accept it or not, which I think is very important to do. Because if you don't accept it, it can be very damaging. It can be very hurtful. Um, I've seen it from people who definitely are they can't express who they are, and it depresses them and it hurts them. It hurts those around them, and it's not a good thing. It really is not a good thing.
I could see that. Now you are
Yeah.
in such a unique position, and there are just so many questions I want to ask. I have
No,
lots of
go right ahead.
I have lots of women on, and one of the questions that I often ask them is, how do you feel as a woman in gaming, where you might not be so visible as a lot of uh, guys are, and it's especially if you're in certain genres of gaming. And do you feel that that affects the way people look at you as a gamer if you are a woman? And you have the unique opportunity to have played and worked and kind of lived as a man in gaming and then have a whole different experience now as a woman in gaming. Do you feel like there's a difference in how people reacted to you when you were identifying and people were looking at you and just identifying you as a man versus now?
It's a very interesting question. In the industry, no. I think that people have always been very polite and very civil, um, no matter what. You know, they are. I have never come across anything bad in the industry. Everyone's been super nice. Like everyone's really outgoing, nice, and very understanding, as a matter of fact. No matter who you are. That's been my opinion so far, and the people that I have met and worked with. Community-wise, as a gamer, I think this is more interesting. Like before I actually worked as in the industry, yes, things were very different, very different. When you're a guy in gaming, it's just you're another guy in gaming. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing unique about you. But when you're a woman in gaming, you're a bit rarer because you're the one saying it out loud, and because of that, people kind of gravitate towards you, I should say. It's a little weird. It's a little weird. Like people like be playing a game as a guy and get absolutely no reaction. Be like, yo, here's another guy. That's cool. Hey, you want to go run a dungeon? Sure, whatever. Or be a woman, and be acting as a woman. Using the smileys. I love smileys. I use kitty smileys. I use all these different smileys that, if you didn't hear my voice and didn't see who I am, I sound a lot like a woman. And people would see that and be like, oh, you're a real girl, aren't you? Oh yeah, I'm female, and they would just, be like, oh, I have some gold. If you need some extra gold, if you need any help, I'll be happy to help you. Like, oh, you need dungeon run? We're doing a dungeon run. Even if you're not very good, you can come along.
Do you think it's because they feel like you need the help, or do you think it's because they want to mech on you?
Both. Definitely both at the same time, which makes it awkward, when you walk in and you're like, oh, yeah, oh, really? Is this what gold does? Yes, I've done it. I've walked in and people are like, oh, if you really need help, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. All of a sudden, just pull the entire room and kill everything,
Oh my God.
And just watch the, what just happened? Well, I'm new to this game. Well, you're really good. Really? I did it a couple times in FPSs where I would act like a complete noob. Which ways walk? How can I walk in this game? And people get close and they try to camp me or something like that. And all of a sudden, boom, knife shot. And then knife right in the head, run past, grab their flag. I did this to one guy really good. Where I grabbed his flag because he was trying to glitch out. And I was playing the, I don't know what I'm doing, girl. And he really didn't see it coming. Got knifed him in the back, stole his flag, ran. He tried to loop me and go ahead of me and set up an ambush. I ended up looping him, getting behind him, knifing him with the flag, and then going back and actually putting the flag in. And he got so angry he rage quit the game.
Oh, wow.
Was funny, actually. It was very funny. And then, of course, no one else in the game liked him. That was the best part. Everyone else was like, he was a terrible person. He just wasn't very nice.
Assisted corpse lies, flagged through the heart.
Flag through the heart. That was the best part. Just flag. Flag doesn't matter. When you're killing someone with the flag, that's a very special time. It's better than the knife. The knife is fun, but killing someone with their own flag.
That is great.
I see the chat room just said, you run faster with your knife out. It's true. You do. You always do.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh no, Jerry's here. Oh God, Jerry just entered the chat room.
Hello, Jerry.
Hi, Jerry. I look forward to fan. Look.
I've been totally thrown off by the flag through the heart. I just need to recover myself.
I'm sorry.
No?
It's so shocking, right? It's such a great story.
It is a great story. Okay, let's talk about talking to friends and family and Massively. I have heard rumors that the way you told the community was through Massively Post. I cannot find this fabled Massively Post to read it. I would love to. Tell me about this and how you wrote this and what the reaction was.
So actually, it's a bit of a misnomer. I told the Massively community through a post, but I also did an interview on Gay Pride Day because one of my friends, Tammy Baraboo, she was at Metaverse at the time. Now I think she's with PopCap. She asked me to come by Metaverse and do a speech on being transgender. So I did. I didn't really think about it either because it was one of those things like my Twitter handle said Seraphina Brennan. Sarah Brennan was on all my gamer usernames. All my characters were female. It was pretty obvious if you looked. And then, the next day I was like, I probably should come to grips with the fact that if I'm doing this, I'm doing these interviews and stuff. I turned to Sean. I said, Sean, I have to write an article about it. Is that cool? And he's like, yeah, you can relate your gaming experiences as being transgender. That's fine. So it actually ended up being a bit of a battle because Sean was cool with it. Elizabeth, our editor, was also cool about it. But there was a concern amongst the higher-ups, amongst management, that there might be a damaging effect to my brand if I announced that I was transgender. And it wasn't because of the gender thing. They were afraid to have my name change because they felt that everyone knew who Colin Brennan was. And because of that, if all of a sudden there's a new writer on Anti-Alias, they would think I was a different person, and they wouldn't want to read anymore. So for a while I was calling Seraphina Brennan, and then I became Seraphina Brennan, just straight out. So it was like this slow rollover. But I did write the whole article about it and talked about Second Life. I talked about raid leading as female and being in games as a female, and how it was a real boon. It was a real big help to 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 my psyche, I guess. Like it it made me feel much better about who I was because I couldn't express who I was in reality, but in a virtual world, I could be exactly who I wanted to be. Um,
I
so
think there's something really therapeutic about the virtual world in that way. And I know myself and some other people that I know that have really had opportunities to kind of recreate themselves or rebuild, parts of them that were weaker through interactions virtually, kind of like practicing almost before you go out into real life and get more confident in who you are because you don't have to worry about kind of the scariness of the face-to-face interaction or people assuming things about you based on your appearance.
yes, there it is. By the way, we found it for
Oh,
you.
oh, good.
Yes,
Your
this
chat
is
room. I'm gonna copy it for you. Hang on.
yeah. Virtual worlds is the great equalizer. It's called.
There you
And
go.
there's the people from Kaidare. Hello, Kaidare Aiden. That's my role-playing group.
Ah,
They're my Second Life friends.
very
Great role-playing group.
nice.
Over there.
See, I've
Fantasy
tried
role-playing.
Second Life before, but I haven't done. Like, I kind of just wandered around and then just dressed up a lot and did like a couple mini
Yeah,
games and earn money so
right.
I could dress up more, and
Yeah.
hung out in the RP area where I was like, dressing in medieval clothing and stuff. But I don't know. Is it just for the community there? Because I couldn't figure out some of the stuff like how to talk to people or how to build like something creative. What is the draw for Second Life that because it's an older game. It's been going for a long time.
You've been going for a very long time. I think I'm 6 years old. I think my character is 6 years old in Second Life. Um, it's not as Linden Labs keeps saying, it's not a game. And I think that's the best thing you could possibly do. You can't look at it as it being a game. It is a service. It is a platform. There are good areas of Second Life. There are bad areas of Second Life. It's like the internet. But most importantly, I think the one thing I always tell all Second Life newbies is that when you get online, go to somewhere you feel that you would fit into. Go find things. Don't just like wander around. That's a bad way to be introduced to Second Life. Find something you're interested in. Go there, and then talk with people there. In my in my personal experiences, when I say to myself, "Hey, I want to find a," for example, I found Kaida Braden by saying to myself, "I want a freeform medieval role-playing community where I can play a wide variety of races." And I searched for a while, and I found that Kaida Braden was a very good role-playing community with great people and flexible rules. And I ended up staying there and just being a player, and ended up rising to the rank of Vampire Queen, which makes me part of the mentor staff there, and I help out new players. And it's a community. It really is the community and the people who build and are very passionate about it that make it such a great place. You have to find your niche and your clique of people. I mean, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be using Second Life right now at all. That's all I go to. I log on Second Life, I play Kaidare. That's it. You know, I'm not a grid hopper. I don't wander around to different stores and things like that. I do my one thing, and that's what I've done for many years. As a matter of fact, I always do that one thing that I always like doing, and that's it. So it's more of a browser than it is a game, I guess I should say.
Okay. See, I could see that. It's like going over to your friend's house and hanging out.
Yep.
The last time I went to Second Life, I ended up in some place where someone was yelling at me that I was a slave and I wasn't supposed to talk. And I said, okay, I'm done.
You were in a Gorbian sim. Yeah.
Oh, I was like, wear this outfit and be a slave. And I was like,
Yep,
I,
they have trapping rules there where they can make you your slave. You have to watch where you walk sometimes. I got kicked out of a furry sim one time because I was wearing angel wings. They were like, no angels. And I was like, what? And then they just booted me.
oh. If they don't like the angels, they don't deserve you.
I guess.
All right. So let's talk about your move to Turbine from Massively. What kind of change was that, and what prompted you to move into the community service area?
I was always interested in community management. I think that was something that I really, really loved. I really love working with people and talking with people and generally helping out. I think that's my big thing. I love helping others. So when I got to be senior editor, I'm not sure if you saw it, but I was also community manager at the same time. And that was a self-made title. I basically said, look, developers and publishers and our press contacts have told us that we are a great site, but that our community is almost rowdy and wild and they can do whatever they want. They need guidance. They need a bit of control. And at the same time, we can do really good things where we can reach out with them and do fun things with them. And Sean, our editor and editor-in-chief, just looks at me and goes, sure, if you want to do it, go for it. And I did. So I just walked right in and I started using our Twitter feed differently. I started changing up our Facebook, and I created a Steam community. I launched our live streaming service, Massively TV, and these were all attempts to better interact with our readers through our everyday stories, not just anti-aliased. It was everywhere on the site. I was encouraging this. And that's when I realized I really liked community management, and I really wanted to do it professionally, not just game writing, because I was doing game writing for the NetherNet and CCP. I wanted to go and do it in a larger scale. So I started applying to all these different places, and of course I heard back nothing every single time. I applied to Blizzard, I applied to Sony, I applied to just a wide variety of places, a lot of indie places too. Serious Business was one of them. I think probably PopCap at one point too, EA. But I never got callbacks. I never got a single callback, and I'm assuming because I had no provable experience in the game industry, and no one wanted to talk with me. So I ended up meeting at PAX East 2010 a wonderful woman by the name of Megan Rodberg at the time, now Megan Jenks, who everyone knows as Patience from Lord of the Rings Online. And we talked at the Turbine booth for a while, and she knew me as a fledgling community manager who was also in the community managers group, which is like a secret cabal of community managers. I actually said it. I don't know.
First rule of community managers.
Yes. And after speaking with her and getting to know her a bit better, I was just online in the community managers group one day, and I saw she mentioned that Turbine was hiring. And I was like, no, that's cool. I said to her, well, I'm going to apply then. Why not? She said, good luck. So I threw in my application. I did what I could, and I wasn't really thinking anything of it, to be honest. I had thrown so many applications at this point. While I wanted a job, I kind of also knew that I wasn't going to get one anytime soon. So instead, I just basically chilled. I didn't even think about it until all of a sudden I got a call back from Turbine, and it blew my mind. I couldn't believe that they wanted me to do a second interview, and I went to Megan and I said, Megan, I'm really nervous about the second interview. Do you know who it's with? Who's the manager of the community management team? And she goes, you're going to be interviewing with me, and I'm your manager. And I was like, oh, well, this will be good then. So we did the interview. I thought I did terribly. Apparently I didn't. And they flew me out. Again, I thought I did terribly at the personal interview, and then I got a job with Turbine all of a sudden. Just like that. I couldn't believe it. I thought if any place I would be at, it would be a small indie place starting off, and I would learn my chops there. I didn't think I'd be learning how to do professional community management at Turbine Warner Brothers.
Right.
Working with Ashen's Call and Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings Online. Like, I was ecstatic. I'm still ecstatic. I still walk into the door every once in a while because we have the logo on the door, and I stare for a while. I'm like, I really work here. That's crazy. And I just walk inside, and go to work.
That's the perfect job, though. You want to feel that way when you walk into the building.
Yes, absolutely. All the time. And just every day is just always... I've never had a bad day at Turbine. Even when I have bad days, I never have a bad day. It's always a great time. And just fascinating. Every single day is fascinating.
Turbine has a different structure than some companies. Can you explain to the listeners what a community specialist is and what your general things that you do are?
So I'm a community specialist. That means I assist with our various games. In my case, I assist primarily with Lord of the Rings Online. But I appear in other places, and I help out as much as I can with other titles as well. So we're like a global community team, and we are on our online titles, and we're on some of our single-player titles. We're all over the place, basically.
I understand you're working on a secret role-playing game that you will tell me nothing about, but yet I'm going to ask about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course you don't.
Yeah, we are devoted to Lord of the Rings Online, Dungeons and Dragons Online, and of course, Asheron's Call as well. Asheron's Call is still running after 11
That's a
years.
long
It,
time.
it's
Yes.
amazing. It's amazing. The players are still completely, psyched and still really, really passionate about Asheron's Call. We're still doing a lot of neat changes to the game too.
I did not realize that Turbine does videos for YouTube where you can kind of watch the behind the
Yeah.
scenes dev things and see the bits that are coming out. I told you I just watched the huge video on war horses today and I'm really, really excited.
Yay!
So, do you know what the URL of that is? So I can link it in the chat room.
It's franchise specific, so it's either
Oh,
youtube.com/Lord of the Rings or Jerry. I think Jerry can help me out with the Dungeons and Dragons page. I think it's youtube.com/dungeon/DDO. We'll find
okay.
out in a minute when Jerry actually gets that.
I had the opportunity to meet Sarah and Jerry and Tolero for lunch, which was like really rushed, and I was really wanting to spend more time talking to you guys, but we only had about 40 minutes, and I
Yeah,
had to tell Jerry a lot of stuff.
yeah, to meet it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
So,
is. It's youtube.com/Dungeons and Dragons.
oh, there you go. Jerry has linked it.
AND. Yeah, that's what I thought it
And
was, but I didn't want to say it. Yes.
was Tolero filming one of those documentaries that day, or one of those behind the scenes thing for YouTube? Because I had wondered.
She does community updates, but she was also in the behind the scenes as well.
Ah, and I saw you were on some as well, which is neat.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Let's see. So, talking about Lord of the Rings Online in a general way, or just Lord of the Rings specifically, how do you feel about the movies? And is there any, like, feeling from Turbine about the movies? Because I always wonder if the visuals in the movies that came out actually are something that inspires the game, or if they're totally separate things.
Well, they're totally separate things because we have the book license, very
Ah,
importantly.
okay.
We are, we use the book license from Cells, and it's not the movie license. But at the same time, we're still pulling our source material from the same place. Hence,
Right.
Gandalf is
And
still
they're both
wearing
true to
his
the
big
book.
hat in both things, and Aragorn still looks a certain way. Legolas still looks a certain way. That's pretty much how that comes about.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
So let's move to your experiences with role playing games and tabletop. How did you get into that, and is this something you played as a child?
Yes, as a matter of fact. I actually got into Dungeons and Dragons because I played a game called Dragon Strike, which was TSR's first attempt at like bridging a board game with Dungeons and Dragons. It had a bit more board game and casual mechanics with the Dungeons and Dragons feel. Like you had statistics and you had dice throws and damage values. Um, and it was basically the quote unquote gateway drug into uh, into Dungeons and Dragons. That was the idea of it. So that's how I started getting really into it because I played Dragon Strike a lot with my friends. We thought it was a great game, and inside of it was um, this advertisement for this game called Dungeons and Dragons. And I got excited. I kind of wanted to play it. It looked like a more advanced version of Dragon Strike with more rules and more control over your characters.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends and I were really all for it. So we went out and bought a whole bunch of Dungeons and Dragons books.
What edition was it?
We were in second. We were in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
So it wasn't the Red Box or anything like that. It was Forgotten Realms was out at that point. Planescape was big at the time. Um, Red Steel, Dark Sun were
Oh,
all
okay.
possible campaigns. But we were big on creating our own homebrew campaigns. We played in the Forgotten Realms setting. But of course, my parents being my parents, apparently at my mom's school, a woman came for an in-service, and she preached about the horrors of Dungeons and Dragons, and how she lost a child to suicide from Dungeons and Dragons, and how this is a terrible game, and no one in their right mind should ever play it. And then, of course, my mom comes home, being a school teacher, she's an English school teacher. She comes home, says, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons." "Oh, no, you're not. You know, Right out, right out. I'm playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm playing that game of witchcraft. You're not
Right.
gonna be a mage, and you're not gonna do all these crazy, crazy things. She didn't understand what the game was.
If you're playing the Hell module, then.
And yeah, I played the Hell module, or sorry, if I really wanted to hurt myself, I should play something like I'm like, God, the Tomb of Horrors, you know? Tomb of Horrors is it's a great module. Everyone will love doing that.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
fun time.
Fun time. So I basically had to sit down and talk with my mom because she had a lot of questions about what this game was. And she didn't want to listen for a while. She didn't want to actually, let me play it. And then she started listening. And she one night just sat me down and said, "Tell me everything about Dungeons and Dragons. Go." And I did. And when I got done, she looked at me and she went, "So you're telling a story?" And I went, "Yeah, I guess it's like telling a story. But there's rules and there's damage values and things like that." She's like, "But no. You're sitting with your friends in a basement and you're telling a story. You're doing collective storytelling."
She's an English teacher. Oh my
She's an
god.
English teacher, and she's like, "This is like, like the verbal tradition." And I was like, "What? The verbal tradition?" She tells me about collective storytelling and things like
Mom, I'm a bard, okay? It's secret.
that. Secret part. Shh. And she thought that this was an amazing, amazing thing. She's like, she couldn't believe it. She's like, "You're learning math, you're doing statistics, you have probabilities, you're learning English, you're telling stories. Why would I stop you from doing this? Go do it more,
Aw, that's
She
awesome.
thought that she thought it was great. She helped me out with books and stuff, and she was totally, totally behind me for my Dungeons and Dragons playing, and that's how I got into Dungeons and Dragons. I played with my friends in a basement eating Cheetos, and that was the sad part. That video ended up coming out from Summoner when we first saw the Dead Ale Wives video, and they had the "Where are the Cheetos in the Mountain Dew," and that was literally my group. We were the ones in the basement eating the Cheetos and Mountain Dew sometimes. We would be playing on a pool table, with green felt, and we had gotten Warhammer too, so we had
Ah.
miniatures, we had scenery. We used to make maps like that and actually play like half Warhammer, half Dungeons and Dragons. It was a lot of fun.
You do
It's
have
just
to
a lot.
wonder, like, the majority of geek guys that are like 16 to 18 have glasses from staring really closely at small figures, and they're really thin from eating Cheetos and pizza in the
Yeah.
basement. You know,
Yep.
interesting. We shape our culture.
It's a great culture. I love
Yes.
it. But the only book she actually took away from me for role playing, she got very angry with me about this, and it's funny in hindsight. Vampire the Masquerade. She did not like Vampire the Masquerade
Really? I
at
like
all.
the game, the role play computer game.
Oh, the role-playing computer game is really good. The game itself is very good. It's just it was too adult for my age, and that's what she didn't
Ah,
like. She didn't like the fact that I could open this book and have this half-naked woman so shoving a steak into another half-naked woman. Didn't like that.
the
She didn't like that at
soft
all.
porn of D&D.
It basically was kind of. So she took the book away. She hid it from me. She hid put it behind the couch. Very clever and crafty place.
Which you never found, clearly.
Never ever found and took back, and she didn't even realize it. And of course, combine this with the fact that later I write for CCP and CCP White Wolf. And I mentioned this to her, like, "I work for CCP. Yeah, I'm working for CCP. Who's that? Oh, they make this video game called EVE Online, and they merged with this other company called White Wolf. Well, who are they? They made this game called Vampire the Masquerade." And I hear this like long silence, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I took that book away from you."
Oh. Well, you told her it's her fault for not cleaning the couch. That's why she didn't know that you took it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
This brings us to Avarice, the role playing game. I read a post
Avarice
on
Industries,
this.
actually.
Avarice Industries, yes.
Avarice Industries,
I
yes.
read a post on this in April when I was going through. Let me get the name right here. Something curves. What is it? Experience
Experience curve.
curve. Experience curve. And when I read this, I thought you were joking. Like, I thought it was a really sarcastic take on your workday, and you were like, "Look, you win a pink slip," and you were going on about basic
Yeah.
stuff that could happen in this. And I thought, wow, that is a really creative way to say my day sucked. And then I realized this is a fully formed role playing game that you're working on. So explain
Yes.
to the.
But that post was just a very silly post. It wasn't actually the real role playing game. I was just being silly that day. I was just
Uh,
being here. So I was teasing people and saying to them I was going to release the rules and the ideas behind it soon, and that's the way I released it, with this absolutely awful module that I thought was terrible. But apparently it's creative. That's good to know.
well, explain the fully formed role playing game and the interesting concept about the companies vying for the builds they
So,
can
for
make.
power.
Yes.
So the overall point of the game is that you play for one of 5 different corporations, and each corporation has a different specific background. Like one does biotechnology, one does nanotechnology, one does creative endeavors, the other one is a military, um, like defense contractor, and the last one is machinery and construction. Um, all 5 of them have a very unique, specific power. They have machines called dream generators that allow them to create literally anything in their imaginations. Uh, if they want to think of a dinosaur and create a dinosaur, they can do that. If they want to create guns that shoot holes in the space-time continuum, they can do that. It just takes a lot of money and time to create these things. So they have to continue doing their business, their everyday business. But at the same time, they want to use like loopholes. They want to use tricks. So they try and steal from each other. They try and one-up each other, even though they're in very different fields. They're always at each other's throats because they all want to know more about what dream technology can do um, than the other competitors, unless they lose their leg up in the market. Uh, so you get to play as one of these special people called a special executive. They report directly to the CEO or the founder of the company, and they are tasked with keeping the company's secrets safe, keeping the workers safe, and making sure that whatever the company does not end up on the 5 o'clock news. Um, to do this, they are given any item or things they want out of the dream generator. If they need guns, weaponry, whatever, there are no questions asked, they get it. But the company just asks for discretion and they ask for efficiency. That's it. So the point of the game is for you to play, to do the bidding of your company without getting caught or getting your company in trouble any way you want. So if you want to kill a lot of people, go right ahead. Just make sure you don't get caught while doing it, you know?
Hmm. If you are caught, what is your penalty?
That depends on what the game master wants to assign your penalty. Maybe you're fired. Maybe the company lays you off and you're never heard from again. Maybe you lose money. You actually get money. Money is our experience system in the game. As you earn money, you can spend it on your character's progression. But you can lose money too if the game master wants you to lose money. So it's usually the way it goes is basically people try not to die. You only have 5 hit points,
Ah.
and most of the weapons do like 3 or 4 damage, so you can die very, very fast and in very spectacular ways. We've had people get their heads chopped off, guns blown through their stomachs. We've even had a couple people fall through space-time, the space-time continuum, or
But
accidentally
are
combine
there
with equation.
velociraptors? That's what I need to know.
Yes,
There are. Okay.
there can be velociraptors. If you want, I think that's the big thing about our system. You can create whatever you want. That we have rules for that. So if you want velociraptors, go right ahead. Create velociraptors. You can create different types of velociraptors. Maybe you want a velociraptor that follows you around. You can create one of those as a familiar, and he's like your pet. Or maybe you want to have a gun that shoots velociraptors, and when they pop out, they turn into pets, and then they attack whatever's there and then die. You know, you could do all these different things with our dream generation rules, as we call them.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's a storytelling game focused on whatever you want to do. Flexibility is a big thing. All of our executives are powered on. We call them the 7 virtues of industry. They are
Yes.
in fact the 7 deadly sins of wrath, sloth, greed, gluttony, lust, and pride and envy. Each sin falling into a different type of stat. So wrath is like your physical stat. It's a very forceful, willful stat that you could use for interrogations, or you could use it to break down walls. Intimidation, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Whereas like lust is our wild card stat. It's luck, pure, unadulterated luck. If it doesn't fit into any other category, it fits into lust. Uh, and you combine you always combine 2 statistics together, and you can get any skill check you want out of it. And that's what makes the game so flexible. It's not just locking characters into things they can and cannot do. It's locking characters into personality roles, and which I find to be much more interesting. So if the angry guy, who's the big burly beefcake, wants to go search an apartment, he's not going to suck at it. What he can do is he can actually say, I'm going to walk into the apartment and I rip it apart with my bare hands, and I'm going to find what I want. Um, he can totally do that by using his wrath stat, which is probably a really good stat for him, with his envy stat, which is his perception, which would be a physical angry search.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, even if he does get a really good roll and finds what he's looking for, he's still ripping the apartment apart. Like,
Right.
he's still going to be very noticeable. So maybe the GM is like, well, the executive whose apartment you just destroyed kind of figured out who did it, and now he's gunning for your head.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the way the story can twist in turn. It's more focused less on success and more on consequence, which I think is much more interesting and fun for players to do, especially players who are storytellers.
I like that because then you don't constantly fail at something you might be interested in doing with your character. You just have to find a creative way to execute it and pay for it later.
Yep. You even do really bizarre things. There are two different, very neat systems in our game. One's called tilting the dice, or it's using your motivation. Like, we have this belief in our game that executives themselves can bend fate because they want to get the job done for their company so badly that when they want to do it, it will get done.
There
So
is
they
no
spend
spoon.
points called. Was that there's no spoon? Yes, there isn't absolutely no spoon. So if they want to jump across buildings, go for it. It might be really, really hard, but you might have to spend a lot of motivation to do it. But maybe you can do it. Just put your mind to it. So you spend motivation points in one of two ways. Either you spend them on your traits, which are like your special powers, which could be like telekinesis, or there could be just simple sheer luck of the draw. There's a really cool one I'll get to maybe I'll talk about later, which is totally luck based. Or you spend them by tilting our dice. After you roll your d8s and you look at your roll, you might think, oh, this is a shitty roll. Because of this one shitty roll, I'm about to lose the entire mission for everybody because I failed to not get shot in the head. What you can do is you can spend your motivation, tilt the dice either up or down. This is important because some abilities let you, when you match dice, you get more successes. So if you have a 5, which is a failure, you can spend one motivation point and turn it to a 6, and now it's a success all of a sudden. If you have a 7 and you want to get an 8, which gets you 2 successes, you can tilt it up to an 8.
Oh.
That gives the players more control over how they are deciding to win and succeed.
Just a
But at the
one
same time,
time?
just a one time. Yeah, it's one for one. So you can start off with 10 motivation. You have it for the session. Use it wisely. The way you can get back motivation is by entertaining your GM. If you're doing funny things, you're doing cool things. If everyone thinks that you're a good storyteller, your GM will actually give you motivation back. So the more cool stuff you do, the more cool stuff you can do in return. It's a self-realizing prophecy, basically.
The Kickstarter seemed very successful and above and beyond what you asked for. So when can we expect I know you can play it now, but when can we expect the full thing to be available, the books, and where can people find that?
So the book will be available online when it's ready to go. We're targeting a $15 price point, which I think is absolutely great for a book that's probably going to end up being around 150 pages and is all color and full color art. That's pretty outstanding, in my opinion, for a book like this. But it will be, I think I'm targeting probably not this month, but at least by the end of next month, we will be fully done the book. It will be fully written and ready to go. And it will be available on drivethrurpg.com. That's my intent.
Okay, well, congratulations. That's a pretty neat experience to build something yourself and see it come to publishing.
It was, first of all, like, to go on Kickstarter and hope to God that we got $2,000 to publish. That's why I said the bare minimum, $2,000 to finish our art. And then to 6 hours later find that I have surpassed the $2,000 mark in 6 hours. Made me go, what the heck just happened?
Feels a love.
Oh, maybe I need to get stretch goals together. I need to think about this. Oh my God, what have I done? I wasn't expecting success. I was not in the least expecting success. And this was back when, Kickstarter was just becoming a thing, when Double Fine was just doing their Kickstarter. So to hit 7,000 at the end of a 30-day run with no prior RPG experience, no prior published games in the RPG sector, I was just my mind blown, just gone. I can't thank my Kickstarter backers enough. I still can't thank them enough. I think I say that in every other post, even though I promised the book back in midsummer and unfortunately, due to work and due to a whole bunch of different things that happened in my life, it got delayed and delayed and delayed, and I feel terrible about that. I feel absolutely, honest to God, awful about that. So I'm trying to get it done as fast as I can with what time I have. It's pretty much if I'm not working at Turbine, I'm working on Avarice. So busy, busy, busy.
Okay. Well, let's take some questions from the chat room. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to think of what you'd like to say and see if anyone wants to ask you any questions. While they are doing that, is there anything you would like to say, because we're getting close to closing here?
No, but besides, thank you for letting me on your show and trusting me to talk in front of a whole bunch of your audience. You know?
You're welcome. I'm glad we got a chance to visit, because like I said, I felt like it was like a speed moment where I was just like really excited to meet all the people from Turbine, and then boom, it was gone. I didn't get a chance to really get to meet you, actually.
No, we were barely together.
I know.
We sat down and went, hey, it's nice to see you. Okay, bye. We have a meeting. Bye-bye.
I know. But thank you for the really nice swag. We got where we were going, and I opened the bag, and I was like, oh my gosh, sweatshirts and wow, capes. Yeah. I see your shirt behind you. Your sweatshirt.
Oh. Yeah, it's hiding right back there. One of my role-playing characters is actually hanging on the wall right above it too. So
oh.
It's the fun wall.
Okay. Well, chat room, you guys are so involved talking about monks and drinking and tuberculosis. I don't even know. Do you have any questions? Because there's always a delay behind us, so I'm always giving them a chance to try to catch up. If they don't have any, I'm going to just end it then.
I have a question. What did you think of the steampunk diner we took you to?
I thought that was really neat.
Right?
Yeah, the food was good too.
For everyone, maybe who was in the Massachusetts area, there's a steampunk diner in Newton called Deluxe Station Diner, and it's an amazing place. It's legitimately steampunk, and it's good food. So.
I have one of my artist friends is in the channel, and he would like to. Did you draw that, the picture on the wall, or was it from the artist who did your book?
That's from one of my artists. She's actually going to be doing the Tooth and Claw expansion for Avarice.
Ah, can you see it? He's like, I want to see it. I'm not making you get up. You might not have pants on. You know how we are with our.
No, I actually do have pants on. I legitimately have pants on. Did I see if he wants to see it? Right. Make sure I don't knock everything over my desk by moving too far away. There we go. So, this is from one of my friends. Let's see if I can move out.
Oh, I like the heart buckle.
Thank you. Her name's Aria Highblade. She is she's a robot. She's a literal robot, and her sword comes out of her arm.
So it's detachable, and then she's a regular hand or a sword, or it's always a sword?
It actually flips. So like when it's a sword, it's sticking out, but then it can flip back in her arm, and then the hand actually flips out from behind it. So she can rotate it like a Swiss Army knife, basically. She was actually made for a friend's personal setting, which I thought was an amazing original setting that he wants to do a game in eventually, so I won't spoil the surprise. But it was awesome.
Cylons? No Cylons.
Like how we mentioned Steampunk Diner, and everyone's like, Steampunk Diner?
I know, they still...
Oh my god. Oh,
is it made with Victorian tech? Well, technically.
No.
Maybe. Alright, so it doesn't look like they have any pressing questions. Although, actually, I had a question on Twitter, and I have to find it now. Something about the monk. I wonder what it was. Yeah, the monk class, and I don't know why.
I don't. Jerry just left.
Okay. Well, then
Jerry would have been the man for the monk class. Monks are fun. I like monks.
See, I have not played a monk before, and the one time I actually played Dungeons & Dragons Online, I played a monk, and then I tried to arm him with things, and it really failed. So
It doesn't work.
No, I couldn't understand that, so I didn't do it. Oh, they would like to know how you came up with your name, Seraphina.
Oh, that's actually a fairly good question, as a matter of fact. Quite personal, as a matter of fact. It was one of those things I like angels, very obviously. I'm not a deeply religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. And I thought the Seraphim are a very neat, angelic race. I have a lot of respect for them. And I just felt that Seraphina would be a very beautiful, nice name. I saw it was an actual name. I just searched the internet and saw Seraphina, and it just kind of worked. I liked it. And I took it and started naming characters after that. One of my characters in Avarice was just named Seraphina, and I had to rename her for the published version of the game because I didn't want to seem like it was my personal insert character, because it was.
Now everyone knows.
Now everyone knows it's Sarah Angela Wildfire. It's still quite obvious. Her name's Sarah Angela Wildfire. It's still very
Yeah.
very cool. Um, so yeah, I told my mom that I was going to be naming myself Seraphina, and she looked at me and she went, "No, terrible name, not a real
Why?
name." She didn't like it. She didn't
Not a
think it was
real name.
not a real name, and I told her it really is a real name. I can prove it. There was a saint named Saint Seraphina. She's like, I don't believe you. So I had to go on the internet and prove that
Wikipedia.
there was a saint named Saint Seraphina. Very sad story too. She died. She couldn't move. She had a disease where her the joints, like the lubrication between her joints, wasn't there. So whenever she moved her bone, it was just bone grinding on bone.
Oh,
Yeah, she died at 18.
very
But
sad.
when she passed away, apparently the board she was laying on, because she only could lay on a board stiff, she couldn't move. Um, when she passed away, flowers actually grew up around her on the board with her. So the legend says.
That's why she became a saint.
Yep. That's one of the reasons she became a saint. Healing powers after her death as well. Yes. There's James Bond asking about a new Avarice arc. So, I guess to answer that question, Avarice Industries used to be Wildfire Industries, which was an alternate reality game that I used to write. That's where I got most of my game design experience from, was alternate reality games, um, which are fun. It's a fun way to tell a story through multiple mediums, and you get to tell the story like as if it's really happening. Like players are actually characters in the world, and they're just themselves.
So when you say
It's
alternate reality, you mean like time streams where this is how it is, but something's changed, someone didn't die, someone did. Is that what you mean by alternate
no,
reality?
um, no, it's different perspective on alternate reality. I guess to talk about alternate reality uh, game, it's really complicated. It's really neat, esoteric concept. But it's that the reality you're in right now, like us together right now, would be where the game is being played. As it's like the game. The thing everyone says when they're playing an alternate reality game is this is not a game. That this is really happening. And this is like a conspiracy theory. Like, oh my God, you are now the main character in this giant global conspiracy that no one else knows about but you. And the game treats itself as though it's real. So
Oh. I
they
have
did this
people that
for
actually believe that.
yes.
I know people that actually believe that. They're not playing.
There would be there was one of the original first alternate reality games was called The Beast. It actually came out. Remember the movie Artificial Intelligence?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like
Uh,
that.
it's a good movie, right? And it was really sad with
I
David.
cried, yeah.
Yeah, I cried too. If you looked on the back of some of the posters, there was actually a question on them. It was had to do with a murder, and if you looked in the credits, one of the credits was of a woman who was like a artificial intelligence builder. Like it was something ridiculous. Like I can't remember exactly what it was, um, but it was like it obviously couldn't exist. So people started digging for this woman on Google, and they found real hits. They found websites that mentioned her and her work, and the websites had passwords on them. And if you looked at certain websites, there were puzzles. If you solved the puzzles, you got the passwords, and you could hack and slowly find more and more about this woman. And this whole plot that happened, and all the characters, and it was this whole game and whole story that was taking place online across about 50 different websites were hidden and part of the Beast, as it was called. In fact, I even went to um, phones. There was a barcode on one of the advertisements for artificial intelligence in New York, and if you looked at the barcode and decoded it, it actually had a phone number. If you called it, you got the company she worked for. You
You
could
like The Secret World because this is very much like
Yes.
that.
The Secret World actually came out from alternate reality gaming. When
Ah.
The Secret World was first released, it wasn't announced as a game, it was announced as an alternate reality game. And it was called Dark Days Are Coming. I remember seeing it 6 years ago. Oh my God, 6 years ago. It doesn't seem like it. And we were all playing it, and there was like this big Cthulhu based, like this esoteric mythology based game. And I played most of it, and all of a sudden at the end you realized that there was more to this, that there's a wider universe going on here. And then they revealed, surprise, it's going to be a video game. It's going to be a massively multiplayer game. And everyone kind of flipped out and went, what? Oh my goodness, oh my god, if they can do like an alternate reality game inside of a massively multiplayer game, this will be the best game ever. I still love The Secret World. I am a lifetime member of The Secret World. That's how much of it.
I think you're all training to be secret spies because it requires a lot of attention to detail and interest in following up small things and putting puzzles together, and definitely a certain genre of people that are interested and really that appeals to, I could see.
Yeah. Not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It's hard. It's very difficult. There are some really nasty puzzles, and most of the puzzles nowadays are written towards crowd solving. So you need to get a whole community of people together to use all their skills and talents. That when you put them all together, the people can solve these amazing, fantastically difficult puzzles that they couldn't solve on their own. But to answer James's question, maybe there will be another alternate reality game for Wildfire Industries. Maybe not. I don't know.
Do you see Bucyrus's question? He asks, being in an alternate reality, do you find conspiracy theories compelling, or do you worry about falling into these as psychological traps?
I find them interesting to read. I find them interesting. I don't think I'm not the type of person who goes, oh yeah, that happened. Any one of these conspiracy theories, these tinfoil hat things. I'm trying to understand the question better, like if I would fall into them as psychological traps or if other people would. No, I don't. Um, I wouldn't fall into those as like a trap. Uh, but maybe for other people, I would worry that possibly they could, and that kind of scares me that the other people could be tricked or duped into falling into some of these things.
People do get very attached
They
to,
do.
gaming and really take it sometimes beyond the
Mm-hmm.
the internet. So I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
No,
here's one.
that's my concern. Yeah.
Zavi1 asks, Sarah, what pushed you to the idea of making Avarice public? And I know you touched on its creation, but what made you decide it would work as a game?
Another really good question. It worked as a game. It worked as a story first, and I had it planned as a tragedy, a three-part tragedy. Um, it seemed interesting. I was writing it off and on in my spare time, but I really didn't want it to be just a novel. I wanted it to be something more interactive and something more touchable for other people, something people could really get into. Because I liked the world a lot. I thought it was a neat world and a neat setting. So actually at first I didn't think it would work as a game. I tried my damnedest to make it work as a game, but I couldn't get it click. I couldn't get this one thing that would make it awesome. So what it was originally was five companies beating the crap out of each other. And that was it. There was nothing else. It was just five companies beating the crap out of each other, and it didn't really make sense. It was trying to be conspiracy. It was trying to be, like modern epic, and nothing was really clicking until one day I was driving home, and I said to myself, "What would be really cool if I could do an Avarice?" And all of a sudden it was, well, why can't the companies make whatever they want? That was the question I asked myself. Like, what would the companies make? So that was my one problem. Like, you have all these companies that do these very different things. Why are they fighting each other? Like, why are they why are why are they in the same market? They're all doing very different things. And the answer was because they all have the same technology and they all want to one up one another. But what is that technology? What are they all working on? The power to create anything. That's like a godly power. That is an insane power to have and give it to mortals. Because what are they going to do? They're going to abuse it. They're going to do what everyone does. They're going to try and ruin everybody else so they can get everything for themselves. And all of a sudden I was like, that works. That would be a great, fun thing to do. And if I gave that to players, they would be able to do whatever they want with it. That sounds like a lot of fun all of a sudden. That sounds like a fun game, not just a fun book to read, but a fun game to play. And that is when I decided that it should be a pen and paper role-playing game. Before that, it was an alternate reality game, and that was it. It was a story. It was not an interactive experience. Now it's interactive.
What makes you decide to create a game versus to write a novel or, a short story?
Depends on for me, it comes down to how you want to tell your story. Because there really are two different functions of storytelling. One's more open-ended and it's for everybody to use and do whatever they want with. It's more of a setting and experience. Versus the other, which is a very controlled experience where you are sitting down and you're giving them what happens. And it's more like a movie or, it's a book. It's a controlled, limited experience that you can only get into so far. You can't answer the questions in it if there are any. You're being led around by the storyteller. I think that's what the difference is for me. What do I want to do overall as an artist, as a creative individual? And for some things, I think that I don't want to let them go. I would rather they be in my control, and I gladly handhold you through my world, but I don't think that you should run around and frolic in it because I don't think that's appropriate for whatever setting it is, or whatever story I'm trying to tell you. However, if it's a big open experience, and I want you to frolic, and I want you to see all these different things, and I want you to make your own things, and I want you to interact and get on a deep level with what I'm trying to show you and tell you, I think that is what leads me to create sometimes games over stories. Ever still has a point to it. There's still a storyline that I'm trying to tell people through it, and that can be whatever they want it to be. I know what I think it is, but I know other people are going to probably interpret it much differently in their own ways, or they won't interpret it at all. They'll just have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, like giving people a framework to create their own, ideas.
Yep. Exactly, and then just let them go.
Okay, a reminder that the Gray Area podcast is entirely funded by listener support, and if you would like to help do that, you can go to genesee.com, and there are very happy colored buttons. And a big thank you to Seraphina, and you can find her on Twitter at Sarah_Brennan, and Sarah spelled Sera.
Yep.
And are there any other sites that you would like people to visit that you are writing on, or that you have YouTube on, or anything like that?
Well, I think they should totally visit, www.avariceindustries.com if they want to learn more about Avarice Industries. They can totally visit lotro.com, of course, for Lord of the Rings Online, or Dungeons & Dragons at ddo.com. Both very fun and very cool games. And finally, if you like Second Life role-playing, Tidair, CADAIR.ning.com for Tidair Brain. An awesome role-playing sim.
Excellent. If you'd like to leave some feedback or keep up with the news, you can find me on Twitter at Gray Area Podcast, at Facebook/Gray Area Podcast, or on iTunes. And if you have any gray areas in your relationships or just need a new perspective, email your questions, advice, or suggestions to geneseegray@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week with a new episode. Thanks, chat room. Please subscribe if you like it.